Today's AskReddit post. Users of Reddit. What is the worst thing your teacher has ever said in front of a class? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I had an art teacher that got caught drinking. Apparently someone from the previous period told on her. The vice principal came into our class and told her to come with him. We all heard her yell. They drove me to drink from the hallway. One of the art teachers at my high school openly talked about drinking in class and dared the administration to fire him. I'm not here because I need the money. I'm here because I enjoy it. This is how I keep enjoying it. Sounds like if Hemingway was a teacher for whom the school bell tolls. Ask not for when the bell tolls. It tolls at 3. 7th grade math teacher heard some 9th grader saying that he probably never gets any. Proceeded to explain to his 7th class that he ducks his 10 years younger wife a lot and that they're in an open polyamorous relationship. He should have just told them that he is in a polynomial relationship with his wife and that would have shut them up. Ah yes, polynomial. I like my polygon relationship. Polyphonic relationships aren't my thing, but others can do what makes them happy. Old guy history teacher told a student in my class to go home and slit his fat wrists. Man, old teachers can be the worst. We had an old German substitute teacher at my high school. Like so old it looked like he could collapse at any given time. He told us about how he used to be a Nazi back in World War II. I guess this is also the time to mention that my school was predominantly white. We had maybe 20 black students total. The sub had asked one of these students to bring him a stapler or something like that, which the student brought him. His response, which got him fired immediately, was something like, "Wow, I didn't expect one of your kind to be helpful. A lot of you people are like monkeys." Pretty sure the only reason that student didn't punch him in the face is because the teacher would have crumbled. Edit. Just to clarify, this was in the US. He was teaching a world history course. He had immigrated to the US from Germany at some point. He didn't specify if he was actually in the Nazi party or a sympathizer. Oh my god. Oh mine god. This guy camps. At the start of class, our teacher just sat in silence for 5 minutes. We waited for him to begin. He then said, "You have just wasted 5 minutes of your life. You will never get that time back." A bit harsh on a class of 9-year-olds. You stayed quiet in class like children are trained to do, and berated for not doing. Like seriously, what was the plan? What was the perfect goal? The children mutiny because class didn't start on time? Leave you marooned on a tiny desert island with nothing but a pistol and a single shot? I hate asshole holier than thou teachers, especially with little kids. For sure. So many people are incredibly unqualified to be left alone with children. Arrogant and mean people that have no idea what type of damage they're doing, and they're with your children 8 hours a day. It's not good. And that goes triple for daycare source. A toddler teacher. My sister once had a teacher tell the class that they had to write a paper on a famous Egyptian. You know, like Socrates. My sister was given in school suspension for disrupting class with her laughter. She appealed it. And in the appeal meeting with our mom and the principal, the teacher insisted that Socrates was Egyptian. The suspension was cancelled. My sister didn't have to write the paper. And as far as I know, the teacher is still working at the same school as a teacher. That's a teacher who isn't even trying. At least Google Socrates before submitting the ISS slip. And certainly come up with some explanation that doesn't sound crazy for the scheduled meeting. Sounds like she didn't even want to admit to herself that Socrates wasn't Egyptian. Bitch was in denial. That teacher might believe that denial is not just a river in England. She would be insane. There was a story about a kid who got run over when he was little and survived. His mates all called him Roadkill. He was off sick, and when he came back the teacher said Roadkill is back. His mother went mad and he got the sack. Note to new teachers, the kids are not your friend. Roadkill is a sick ass nickname. Yay. It's a lot better than Taserface. Taserface, ha 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 ha. What was your second choice? Scrotum hat? The morning after parents' night, boy in the class was talking over the lesson for the 100th time that term, and the teacher says, "Johnny, This is exactly what I was saying to your mum last night. The class burst into laughter. The teacher went red at the implication and Johnny didn't talk over the lesson anymore. Sounds like my computing teacher, Mr. White. I don't know why there are so many girls in this class. You're supposed to be married and have children already. 11th grade advanced physics teacher. I had a teacher in my engineering class who would make jokes about women being dishwashers. I was in a class of about 3 girls and just under 20 boys. And people wonder why less women go into STEM fields. Did you continue and or graduate after? I took the class when I was quite young at school, not university. I didn't continue with the subject after. Not because of the teacher, but I just realized it wasn't for me and that I was more interested in other subjects at the time. I'm still very interested in science, I just realized it wasn't what I wanted to do for a living. Edit. Just in case it wasn't clear, I didn't mean I dropped the class. I completed the course, just didn't take it the next year. Worst thing and also best thing. History class. Kid punches the kid in front of him in the back of the head. Teacher sees this and says, now he's gonna punch you in the head and you're all gonna sit there and watch because there's nothing you can do about it. A punch for a punch leaves the whole world concussed. Seems reasonable. Let's get started. Aura. I go to a anger management school. Sometimes the teachers lose it. They once said shut the fuck up. This is why teachers give you cunts worksheets. Ironic. A student handed in a blank sheet during a test. Teacher took it and said student's sheet is as much a virgin as every girl in this class. We were 13-14. He's done other stuff that made students uncomfortable, but we weren't taken seriously. And that's how one of the most prestigious teachers at my high school was able to get away with ducking his students. He was even married to a former student. But no one believed the girls who stepped forward. But don't worry, guys. He was put on paid leave and was later allowed to resign with his dignity intact and now teaches for a different school district. Yikes. I hate how common that seems to be. That teacher also forbade girls from wearing scarves in his classroom, even during winter when our buildings didn't have the best heating. We suspect it wasn't really innocent either. Eventually our class, same group of people over 2 years, was given a new teacher due to our complaints. But the teacher himself never faced any consequences as far as I know. He was still teaching there when I was in high school. We had a guy that was known throughout the school system to be a ducking creep, made very perverse jokes, played a trick on girls that involved licking one finger and quickly wiping their cheek with the dry finger next to it, leering at the cheerleaders when they wore their uniforms. He even apparently got handsy with a couple of female students during driver's ed. Of course he was an instructor. His rep was so bad that one of my female friends and I had driver's ed together and she begged me to let her drive herself home first so that she didn't have to be alone with an in the car. Dude thinks he's hilarious and popular and we all knew how ducking scummy he was. My elementary school paid gym teacher would turn girls upside down if they were wearing a skirt or a dress. I told my teacher about it and nothing happened. I told my parents about it and nothing happened. I called him out one day in front of the entire class for being a creep and I got detention for being disrespectful. I was in 2nd grade. Looked at a mentally handicapped girl and muttered retard just loud enough for a few people at the front to hear. Whoa, people like this should be fired on the spot and shamed publicly. Prepare the tar and feathers. Grabs the bucket. She read out my name and looks at me and says, your parents named you this? Are you willing to say your name? It's Neelashma. It sounds just like Neela Rasma, which in Hindi means blue sky, and I really love the endlessly blue sky. Some teachers just want to get through the day without actually doing their job. Don't let a bad teacher ruin your mood. I hope you've also had your fair share of good teachers. Yes, a few of them were really great and actually made an effort. I think it's a play on blue sky like you said, but my mom always just said that she found it in a Sanskrit dictionary, so I am not sure. I was in 5th grade and there were a few students who weren't getting great test scores. So during our lesson one day she calls out some of those students and basically paints a really morbid picture of what their future would supposedly be. She said they'd end up working at McDonald's for minimum wage, barely making enough to pay rent in a shitty apartment with no way to pay for food, electricity or anything else. It is not uncommon for Elam teachers talk to each other about kids like this. They are sometimes called the DFLs. Dumb for life. Most teachers aren't dumb enough to call them out in class about it though. My AP bio teacher was a little behind on the times and on the first day of school called a student daddy. Safe to say everybody busted out laughing and never let her live it down. Edit. I completely forgot about the time my history teacher called a kid in my class a one-pump chump. We still call him that in the locker room to this day. I mean, even if daddy didn't have the meaning it did today, that's still a weird thing to call a student. I am an AP teacher more than a little behind on the times. Does daddy mean something other than a child's father? If you really want to know, say it to one of your students. You got 69 out of 100 on today's test. Daddy. I had a prof that had given us an in-class assignment. He was a shitty teacher and we were first year students, so we didn't finish it, and he told us to take it home and finish it, and when we were done to bring to me. Bring it to daddy. He was Greek and didn't know the context, but he was the head of the department, so we all held back our giggles and left. As a Greek, I can confirm that daddy isn't used as a sexual term as usually as in English, because the Greek version is just cringe. Babacus. Also, middle-aged Greek men use weird terms all the time. Emo. This wasn't the only odd thing he said. He was just an eccentric old dude on top of not knowing the lingo. Nice enough guy one-on-one, just weird in a classroom. While asking everyone in the class what they'd like to study at uni, hyping up everyone so they could help us pick our year 11/12 courses, my year's welfare advisor stopped at me and out loud in front of the class told me I am not cut out for uni and maybe a more attainable goal would be like a cleaning lady. Jokes on you, Timmy, I start next week. Edit note, just to specify, this is definitely no hate on cleaners. You guys are essential and I have total respect for the profession. It's a tough job. I was offended by the calling out about university more than anything. Plus, who says you can't be a cleaner and have a degree? You absolutely can. Cleaning. Or, probably should have specified that was on starting uni. Degree in housekeeping and maid services. Said that all we had to do to understand a reading was to try harder. This immediately after someone who was visually impaired told her that no accommodations had been provided. So trying harder was kind of out of the realm of possibility. We all lost a lot of respect for that teacher that night. Well, UIS English. I guess it wasn't a problem for you, at least. Wasn't necessarily in this instance. But I have my own disabilities that can affect my class performance. If I hear that sort of thing expressed, it throws up a lot of red flags. Luckily, this teacher was pretty tame on my scale of ableist teachers, but I've experienced a lot worse in the past. I was very worried about whether my own accommodations would be honored for a while. It was a joke on your username. Sorry, I tend to think very literally. Grinning face with squinting eyes and sweat drop. I remember sophomore year of high school we had this seriously obnoxious kid who annoyed us every day. He would make some sexual joke, and like every joke became a dead horse, and complain how hard his life was in school and claimed that the teacher loved making us do this. Our teacher had enough one day and snapped. He looks at him dead in the cock eye and yells, "You don't know what shit I put up with, you little fucker." To give clarification, this teacher has had many years of teaching experience, was a US Army Ranger, and was an EMT. Very nice and friendly individual who could be lenient. He also taught both algebra classes, an AP Physics and an AP Calculus course. That kid only did 3 things: eat, smoked weed and played video games. He's been arrested 3 times now. Edit. Typo. She looks at him dead in the cock eye. What? Right in the pecker, mate. Shouted straight into it like a microphone, LMAO. I will be in your butt. Our band director was trying to fire us up for marching season, but he had never given a motivational speech before, so he ducked up all the intense parts and made them mildly sexual. Haha, that's not even mildly LOL. Going straight to anal. And I will also be in your mouths. Deep in the throats of victory. This guy. Probably. I had a religion teacher in high school named Mr. Wen, who was working on becoming a Jesuit priest, and was a really cool guy. He always had a smile on his face and did his best to make class a fun experience for everyone. There was a kid in my class who was a really annoying smartass, but Mr. Wen was always really patient with him, until one day he pushed him too far. I forgot exactly what the kid said, but it definitely crossed the line. Mr. Wen slammed his fists on his desk and shouted, "Why can't you ever shut the duck up?" He then picked up his stapler and chucked it at the kid, missing his head by a few inches and leaving a huge dent in the wall, and then stormed out into the hallway. I had never seen a teacher blow up like that, and I definitely never expected it from him. I'm assuming he never returned to the classroom after this? He did. Nothing big really ever came of it aside from him taking like a couple of weeks off. I'm sort of glad that he came back. I'm a teacher, and whilst I've never been pushed to that limit, I know of other teachers who have, and I'm surprised that more don't just break. One thing I will say is that annoying kid actually did shut the duck up after that and was on his best behavior in Mr. Wen's class. The 12th of September, 2001. We should just carpet bomb all of the towel heads in that whole desert and be done with this. My European history teacher. That wasn't a very cash money thing to say. Then we could take the oil and be super extra cash money. Capitalists want your location. My teacher once said we'll finally be able to start learning something after all these Jewish holidays are over. It's only 2 days. Jesus. I laughed my ass off to this comment. Jesus. Well, he was Jewish. I once had a substitute teacher for my health class, and he went on this long rant about how rape can be justified. So many people complained about him. I am very curious as to what justification he came up with. She said no, but I wanted sex. New year, new teacher, and his introduction was, "If you are loud I will hit you with the chalk." We all thought it was very funny, but the next day we learned what doom was because he never missed. Do chalks hurt? They do if you get hit in the eye. She called me an escapist for missing school and homework due to jaundice in 7th grade, and your Simpsons impersonation is not even that good. Called my black friends the N-word and got fired. I'm glad the teacher was fired. Terrible behavior is too often ignored. Plot twist, he's the teacher that got fired. I suck at math. Dyscalculia. I had to go up and a problem on the whiteboard. Somehow got right. Whoa. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut once in a while. WTF lady? I hated her in school in general. As a math teacher, why even have you come up if she wasn't going to have the expectation of your success? I believe the opportunity to fail without consequences is important, but that should be for private assignments where only the student and teacher know, not broadcasted in front of the class. She thinks it's funny. Recursion is better than sex. 9th grade C++ teacher going through a rough divorce. I have bad anxiety attacks, and like everyone in my class knows it. Same thing my teachers. Once after an oral test I was almost crying and trying to explain I was getting anxious and that was why I did wrong stuff I did right in every other test. She looked at me like she didn't believe me, and then she said, "You can't get anxiety in this situation. It's impossible." I wanted to hit her so bad. I was trying my best to don't break down completely. It was awful. I'm sorry to hear that. She has no idea what she's talking about and she should be ashamed of herself. We had a poetry day in English class, and when one kid was presenting another kid was laughing and the teacher told him, "Hey, shut the duck up. No one wants to hear it. You know how hard it is to present?" I don't think that that's a bad thing. We had teachers and students like that too. Emo students need to be talked to that way, or else they'll never sfoo and realize that what they're doing is a pretty shitty thing to do and hurts the person that gives the presentation. But like I said, that's just my opinion. Agreed. But he was pretty intense about it. The kid got the message. Well, I think that that's the important part about it. If he wouldn't have been intense about it, it probably wouldn't have stopped. Now this is also depending in what year you were in, but from my experiences, if the teachers are too soft about it, the teen will probably end up forgetting about it and grow up to keep being an ass about it. At least most of them will. Not all of them. I had a teacher when I was 13-14 years old that said to a girl of the class she was going to end up prostituting in front of the whole class. Same teacher said to another girl that she was going to end up working at McDonald's if she kept having bad grades. Same teacher told the whole class our parents were ungrateful to the pedagogic team that takes care of their children because she didn't receive any chocolates for Christmas. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.